The internet works, and we're back live with Adam Haig 2.0 here. Briz, introduce yourself. Tell us, tell the followers who you actually are, what you do around here.
Yeah. So obviously working at Adam's office. Everyone calls me Briz. My name's Brian. We have a couple Brians in the office, so everyone just kind of calls me by my abbreviated last name, Brzicki. Everyone calls me Briz, and yeah, I work in sales in Adam's office. I've been doing it for about 4 years now.
All right. The Reynolds and Cody are probably going to be upset because I think I did promise them an episode about companies where people have a lot of the same names. We have 3 Tonys at Novus. You guys got 3 Brians over here at the Haig Insurance Agency. It's a fun thing, you know. All of a sudden, we get these little clusters of same name. So you work in sales at Adam's office at the Haig Insurance Agency here, and we've talked last week with Adam and Nick Osting about some of the stuff that's going on with insurance technology, and I think in the last week we've also now hit a boiling point here where large insurance, almost the entire industry of insurance is starting to use advanced technology to mitigate having to pay claims, particularly with roofs, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's, as you said too, it's the whole industry. There's obviously a lot more technology available nowadays. It's easier for underwriting one to be more stringent because they have access to looking at these roofs, and really it's just coming down to the bottom dollar for all insurance companies in the fact that, hey, we need to tighten up our claims because, again, kind of follows the overall economy in that sense. So that's kind of what's going on.
And that's something we've driven really, really hard at for the last month and a half is understanding that homeowners insurance is not a maintenance policy. It is to insure against catastrophic loss.
Right.
And understanding that is difficult because folks, unfortunately, like to be the first in line to try to file a claim and or file a claim that could probably jeopardize insurability or insurance cost longer term when just working on a proper saving strategy or a emergency fund budget might be the better route. But we're talking about technology and the way insurance companies go about it. It's not, let's be very clear, it's not you flying a drone around St. John looking at roofs. This is probably people above the brand, above State Farm, above Allstate, buying technology from corporations that have multiple pictures of houses so you can see roof color changes, shingle style changes, and all of that stuff. I think what's driving the concern? Like, is it hail, wind? What are the causes for roof loss usually?
Yeah, I mean, hail and wind are the 2 most popular, I would say, too. In terms of when you get into catastrophic losses and things of that nature too, and so that's the 2 main kinds in that sense. But another big one too is talked about how insurance isn't about maintenance. So sometimes the roof is just old and it's deteriorating. Especially in the Midwest, we get hot season, it's 90 degrees, 30 degrees in the winter. That plays an impact, and then of course storms. We've had a pretty active.
Just again last night, another round kind of ripped through south suburbs and northwest Indiana again, and it seems like they're coming with ferocity, like a lot of wind, and sometimes large hail, and it just keeps happening. And I think I have always talked about this in some theories in the mortgage world about how business on the coast usually is backed by business in the Midwest or the breadbasket for whatever reason. Well, a lot of things with insurance too. You don't have a lot of wildfires in the Midwest. You don't have hurricanes in the Midwest. But last week we have 28 tornadoes in a 150-mile northwest span. How does an insurance company? It's insurance, right? Like they're hedging against risk in other places. Mm-hmm. Well, an event like that just completely throws all of their finance people probably out of whack. And then I think what it comes down to is the unfortunate part is people beat you up.
Yeah. No, No, definitely. And, you know, at the end of the day too, you know, you have insurance for a reason. You have it. I mean, really the main purpose is we want to give you what you had before, God forbid anything happens. And, you know, and that's why it's so important, you know, having the right coverages, having the right deductible, and understanding them too. So, you know, when to file a claim, you know, how this is going to affect my pocketbook, you know, especially for first time home buyers, somebody just bought a home, you know.
And one thing that kind of like gets lost in the shuffle is when folks go to like an online place or like a chop shop type insurance operation, right? Because they want to get to they want to save $18 a month. We'll just use that very arbitrary number.
Mm-hmm.
But what is the claim process? Who do you call? Do you call that broker? Probably not, because they wrote that policy and they pushed it off. So now you're calling an insurance company that you're going to sit on hold with for an hour and a half to 2 hours or go online to try to file a claim. And then you're trying to juggle actually talking to somebody. There has never been a time that I've called over here and someone hasn't picked up the phone. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a valuable service level, especially for a first-time home buyer. Like the first time I had to file an insurance claim, it was probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago at this point. I work in the industry. I should know everything. I didn't quite know what to do.
Yeah, you know, that. I think two things you said there. You know, one, service, how we have it in house too, and with filing a claim, we always recommend, hey, give us a ring first, talk to us a little bit what happened, and we can advise you on how to move forward, and then we can get you connected with a claim rep. You know, that's again one of the big things we offer and pride ourselves on. And two, I know you talked about you know saving a couple bucks a month, because really there's two ways you can save in insurance. And yeah, you can save the $18 a month, or, you know, which of course, you know, that's one way. The second way is, hey, let's save you tens of thousands of dollars by giving you the proper coverage, and when something happens, you know, as I said before, we're going to restore it just how it was before that, you know, hopefully without impacting your pocketbook too much.
I think you say when something happens, that's very critical too, because it's not going to be an if, it's going to be a when. If you're going to live in that house for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, something is bound to happen. But budgeting appropriately for the $18 a month, like if you multiply that over, you know, to say 100 months at $1,800, like versus $35,000 for a roof, right?
Exactly.
You know, making sure you have the right coverages, having someone that can explain the coverages in explicit detail, I think is very, very important. Like the whole push button, get insurance, you're insuring the most expensive thing you're ever going to buy, more than likely, unless you're going to buy a private plane or a yacht, which I don't know if we're doing that quite yet. But the chase to the bottom isn't always the best bet. And I think that what's going on now too, we're talking about roofs and insurance, and the cost is also, there is the chance that an insurance carrier says the house is not insurable, or they want to push you into some type of crappier coverage on that roof because of all this technology. And if you're buying a house, a lot of times if you're just going to online lender or, you know, cookie cutter lender, they're not introducing you to a proper insurance agent. They're not having that conversation up front. And so you're getting the call for, hey, you need homeowners insurance 2 weeks prior to closing or a week prior to closing. And then Briz calls and goes, hey, we have a problem with this roof, or we have a problem with this house. We actually can't insure it. When you could have known about that, and we're going to go into some more detail on that, I think, next week too, when we have Tony Minadero on. We're going to talk about some of the contractual items that protect you in the case that you're buying a home and you can't get insurance on it, and why it's important to start that process, that shopping process early. You guys are always answering the phone, answering emails. You're willing to talk to a customer. Hey, I wrote an offer. My offer got accepted on 123 Main Street, Riz. Can we start the process of getting an insurance quote, right?
Right.
You guys want to know about it up front too, so that you have time for I don't know, you guys go through like an underwriting process and all of that stuff.
Yeah, right. And, obviously every company does. And, one of the tools we have access to is we can actually see, beforehand if said roof is in bad shape. We actually can get a notification through our quoting process, which is super helpful, as you said. That way, a couple days before closing, as opposed to, maybe somebody else gets back to you a little later. Hey, we might have a problem with this roof here. No, we can tell you weeks ahead, which, again, like you said, very important to getting this all taken care of so nothing messes up that closing date.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, what can mess up the closing date, right? So if we have insurance budgeted at $1,200 a year or $100 a month, that impacts, and all of a sudden it's now $2,400 a year. Well, that impacts your debt to income ratio. That also impacts, right, that 1 year of homeowners insurance that you got to prepay at closing. Your bottom line in that case just went up $1,200. That means that the mortgage guy has to verify $1,200 more of cash, available funds to close. You, as the borrower, have to come up and be okay with bringing $1,200 more to closing. Just a lot of stuff that you don't want at the highest tension, the highest friction point of the transaction is that week and a half prior to closing. I promise you. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm sure Briz is wearing it for people. Why did this happen? And it's like, how do we avoid it? Well, proactivity. I'm under contract. I need to get in contact with a good insurance agent. Reaching out to people at the Hague Insurance Agency, like Briz, they are going to provide you with honesty, transparency, and you guys don't BS. You don't drag it out. This is a pretty quick thing, right? You guys knock out a ballpark on insurance in what, a 15-minute phone call?
Oh yeah. Of course, every situation is different, but on average, yeah, it's really all.
If it's a car, two cars, and just a single homeowner's insurance policy, 15 minutes, painless. You guys aren't digging in. It's not like you're going through the mortgage process. They're not digging in on everything with you. But you guys are going through all of the coverages, what they mean, what else. Like, walk me through a consultation. You're talking to me. Hey, Briz, I'm buying 123 Main Street for $350,000. My mortgage guy connected me with you. What are we doing here? Or how's this conversation going?
Yeah, I mean, really, it always starts out and hey, where are you at financially, and helping us understand, where everyone's at is critical for us. Set all the right coverages from liability to your deductible and then once we have that, there's additional coverages that we explain, and really just getting to the point of we want you to understand what your coverage means and what you have to be prepared for pretty much anything. And again,
do I have my wife's wedding ring? Right? We talked a couple weeks ago that, and we talked about personal articles, all of that stuff. How many cars do you own? Is that like a collector's car? Do you have a Mickey Mantle autographed game worn jersey? Stuff like that. What else are you guys covering on that to make sure you have the right coverages?
And like you said, your personal belongings too. Another big one is homes to the basement, sump pump, and they have sump pump and drains. I think it was a week or so ago, my house lost power, and I don't have a backup on my sump pump. So if something happens where tons of water gets in there, and you don't have the extra coverage to protect your basement, that's not covered. And that's not just with us, that's for all insurance companies offering that option. So that's another really big one we stress and really recommend.
It's as someone that's had water in a basement, my first insurance claim, I had 5 foot of water in my basement, and my neighbor 2 doors down had 9 foot of water in his basement. And again, that's the big misconception about flood insurance versus water coming over the top and how did it come in. And that's questions that you guys ask. And you're not poking and prodding for no reason. You just want to make sure that when that event happens, because for whatever reason in the Midwest, power likes to go out. We like to get a lot of rain. And we keep getting these concentrated rain events where we have 5 or 6 inches of rain in a couple hours in a very narrow area. And I don't care what sump pump you have or how your home was built. It's not meant to move that much water in that time period, right?
That's right. And this goes back to the same point. Obviously, having that coverage it will raise, the premium a month. But again, back to what you said about the $18 a month. Would you rather pay $18 a month more, or would you rather cover? I'm sure that claim you had when you had 5 feet of water in your basement. I'm sure it was more than.
Oh, I mean, it was
how many?
We had all the mechanicals were destroyed, everything down. I mean, that's 5 feet water. Then my neighbor with 9 feet, like you're talking about in that case, it blew out all the windows. And there's a few things that we talk about that, like in the world, that are undefeated: gravity, the United States and world wars, and water. Wherever water wants to go, water goes. And as a homeowner, I can't stress that enough. As I'm sure from the insurance perspective, you guys can't stress that enough. Water is probably the biggest pain in the ass in insurance.
Oh.
Because it just goes wherever it wants to go.
And once it's there, it's there. That there's cleanup and again the lingering damages it can cost. And I mean, again, tens of thousands of dollars as opposed, if you didn't have that coverage. But yeah, that's another big one we do stress and review with everybody.
Well, I mean, if I could pay you $18 a month, will you come lug all this wet carpet out of my basement for me? Come on, Briz.
Yeah. No, right. It's.
Everyone's your friend and your best buddy until it comes to lugging wet stuff out of the basement.
Oh gosh,
let ServPro or some other professional contractor deal with that problem, right?
Right, exactly. And with the right coverage, again, paid for.
That's the biggest piece of the puzzle. Paid for. You're not worried about your back, your herniated disc, your sciatica, all that stuff, trying to lug everything up. All right, so we've kind of walked through the importance of getting that insurance consultation up front and doing it with an insurance agent in a group that cares about customer service and properly insuring things. And that's, again, the entire theme of the year has been preparing and having conversations early on, right? Mm-hmm. If there were 2 questions that you either hear a lot or you wish somebody would ask during that consultation, what are those 2 questions?
Man, I think
why is my policy this much?
Right. I mean that's a big thing. One, yeah. Why does this cost what it does? Well, cost what it does is, we want to put you in the best coverage possible. So, unfortunately, nothing's free ever. And I feel like with some conversations we run through the whole process, and those questions we don't get asked is what's the value in this? Why should I pay more or less to have my insurance set like this? And really just understanding the concepts of, really sometimes you have to pay more to have your perfect world coverage. Some it's different for everybody, but I think that's one big one.
Going through the inventory of it, like, hey, well, how much did that cost you, right? So do you want to spend an extra $4 a month to make sure that doesn't you don't have to ever replace that? Wife's a ring, jewelry, all of that stuff. I think that a lot of it gets overlooked in these cutthroat insurance policies, right?
Definitely, yeah.
And then with auto insurance, the same thing. Like, what happens when you have a uninsured or underinsured person that hits your car? Things like that. I'd say those probably are the biggest ones.
Those are definitely, and I see it more so with the coverages on auto insurance too. I would say 80% of the people that I talk to, when I look at their limits, and once I've had a conversation with them, 80% are, in my opinion, really underinsured. So if something happens, there's normally always a gap and a little exposure where, hey, if XYZ happens, you might be in a little bit of trouble, or we can fix that for you.
And then you don't have the stress of XYZ.
Right, because again, back to the point. That's why you have insurance. This is your defense. This is if whatever happens to you, your life is going to be the same financially as it was if that never happened. And that's the real importance in having those limits set up right.
And everything is expensive. Like, homes are more expensive, repair costs are more expensive, cars are more expensive, car repairs are more expensive. So insuring against all of that is critical. And next week we're planning on talking about some homeowners association stuff and condos and the right coverage is there, and where HOAs maybe take a shortcut to insure against something. and could leave you vulnerable as someone that owns a townhouse or a condo. But, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, specifically the two government GSEs that provide liquidity to the mortgage market, they have a requirement for condo associations to budget at least 10% of their homeowners association dues for deferred maintenance and capital improvements. When you're putting your budget together as a regular person buying a house, a single family house or multifamily, I think that's a good practice of budgeting, 10% of your net earnings, paying yourself first. We could go into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and some of these other books that talk about that. Having not just insurance, but then also having the appropriate financial reserves in the case of an event.
Right. And, and that's why this is more important than ever. You talk about the cost of, it's no secret, the cost of everything is going up. So again, more so the reason why, we believe that everyone needs to be put in their perfect custom, perfect world coverages in that sense. More, because again, everything costs more. So, we're really at more exposure.
Yeah, I think like homeowners insurance in particular for like 7 or 8 years was a pretty static number. And then all of a sudden, supply chain issues and everything else in the world creates this issue with the repair costs going up. And so insurance is built very, forward on the revenue side, but backwards looking on the expense side. All of a sudden you have this bubble where, in a 2 or 3 year period, the cost of rehabbing a home or renovating a home or doing these repairs is 65 or 70% more. It's called the catch up. And it's not anything specific to any particular insurance carrier. This is something in the mortgage world we're seeing, whether it's big name, small name, and we just don't want to see you, or not, I don't want to say you, but I don't want to see you as a borrower breaking your back to make that mortgage payment and then leaving yourself exposed. And that's why we work with the Hague Insurance Group, guys like Briz and all the other Brians over here that that take care of it, because they take the time to go through and explain everything.
No, right, exactly. And you're right, too, about how static this market really was for a while. It was a little bit of a lag with everything kind of catching up with, of course, everything going up, too. And I know even on the auto insurance things, premiums for auto insurance for all insurance companies up 40% in the past couple of years. I don't know what it is for home insurance, but it mirrors it in a similar fashion. But as you said, this is, definitely a different time in the market.
It's different times, different strokes for different folks.
Mm-hmm.
Which sounds like you're the Hague Insurance golf instructor as well.
Yeah.
Real quick. So real quick, we gotta put you on the hot seat on a couple things with this now. What's your handicap?
I think right now it's between a +1, +2.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you do you stroke the ball pretty well.
Some days, yeah.
And some days you get a headache. Favorite course in the area to play?
It's got to be Sandy Pines down in Vermont.
Oh, that's a favorite of many.
Yeah, it's
underrated. Clubhouse is great too.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a drive if you live in the northern half of the region, but I think that's really the only downside to it. That's a little bit of a drive to get there, but I think it's the best course really in the area.
I love it. How many times do you play there a year?
I try to get out there at least 3-4 times, honestly.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great course there. Love that. What's your favorite club to hit?
Favorite club, man.
We're most confident. You're walking up.
It always shifts a little bit. Right now, it's the driver. I really like the driver right now.
Let the big club eat a little bit.
Oh, yeah. It's always feels good when you're hitting the driver well, for sure. It may not mean too much because, putting's everything in golf, really. But, yeah, right now, the driver is my favorite club.
As they say, right? Drive for show, putt for dough.
That's right.
But let's who cares? It's a show. let it rip, right?
It's a lot more fun to hit your T-ball well. Unfortunately, it is.
All right. Well, anything else the fine folks need to know about you, Briz?
Man, just what I do here in golf. That's the two big things that I kind of work through my life right now. To be honest with you, those are my favorite two things.
Golf and insurance. All right.
Yeah, right.
So if people want to talk to you, get some insurance, they reach out to the Hague insurance agent. They just message Adam. Adam is my agent. You get connected with one of the Bryans over here that take great care of you. I think he probably, most of the insurance customers over here probably get an invite to the Rusty Putter at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe Brizzle will straighten out that slice for you. We don't know entirely on that, but we do know that he will straighten out your insurance coverage for you, right?
Most definitely. I can do both too.
All right.
Both are available.
Bold statement. So you hear that? If you got crappy insurance coverage or a horrible slice, get in touch with these guys. They'll take great care of you. Briz, we appreciate you hopping on in the absence of Mr. Hague. And we'll be back next week talking about HOAs, defunding the HOAs, and a lot of stuff about condos and townhouses that don't necessarily get covered right from real estate agent side, the mortgage side, or the insurance side. So we're going to dive real deep into that stuff. We'll see you guys next week.